So what were some of the things that you struggled with when we decided to reconcile?
I mean, lots of things, right? I would say that my main struggle, of all of the struggles, my main struggle was honestly any time that like an old habit popped back up, or an old method of communication, or something that just didn't sit right, anything that resembled the past,
Yeah.
which is probably really broad. It's a broad stroke,
Very
but
general.
um it was just like, if it was something that we had struggled with before we separated and it came up, it was almost like it was the end of the world. Even though it wasn't, right? We were rebuilding this foundation, and so because it was so shaky, that's why it felt like it was the end of the world. Like, we cannot navigate this. There's no way we're going to make it through. And so I struggled really badly every time something like that came up.
I think one of the things I struggled with the most was just feeling safe and like secure that what we were doing was going to work.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we decided to reconcile, we decided that we wanted to heal,
Mm-hmm.
but like it felt so shaky at the beginning. Like, does this work for a month? And
Mm-hmm.
then you just decide that you don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like it was pins and needles I was walking on for so long. I just never knew when I was gonna wake up and it was gone.
I think for me, it was, I mean, the exact same struggle.
Mm.
But for me, it was more on, I mean, obviously on this side, it was more, can we do this? Like, can we get to the end of this? Can we continue on? Because I knew for sure that it couldn't be the way that it was. And so that's why I said, like, anytime old things came back up, it was like, okay, let's nip this in the bud right now. Because
What do you mean when you say like old things came back up though?
so, like, say if we were arguing, right? We used to argue in a very toxic way,
Right.
and things just kind of blew up. We never got to a resolution. We would just cycle and cycle and cycle, and there would be no end. And when we got back together, that was something that wasn't just automatically fixed, right? That was a huge thing for us before the infidelity started. And it was a huge thing for us when we came back together.
Yeah.
And so that being kind of a hallmark of our toxic behaviors and toxic communication, anytime that would happen again, it was just really scary.
You know, I don't really remember too much of that happening though. Honestly, like for me, like I feel like at that time, because it was pins and needles for me, arguing felt like it couldn't be done.
Interesting.
Like I felt like I had no space to argue with you. Like there was no room for me to bring a point that was opposite of yours.
Yeah.
So I really don't remember us having arguments at that time because I was so focused on there being no problems from my end. Even though I felt like, yes, there were issues that needed to be addressed, but I did not feel like there was space for me to bring those issues. So I really don't remember arguments.
I mean, they did not happen very often.
Yeah.
They didn't happen very often, but like, if you think about now, the way that we argue, we don't do that anymore.
No, not at all.
Like, at all. And so it at that time, it was a lot less than it was, because that was your posture.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot less than it was. But when it got to that point, it was like, we cannot do this.
Okay.
Because it was just so much bigger than it had been in the past.
Yeah.
There was so much writing on each interaction that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was just a lot of weight to it.
How do you feel like we got past that?
Oh, time.
Yeah.
Time. Definitely. Um, yeah, therapy.
Yeah, huge help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it was like, oh, we just did something right away and it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was fixed. But some things literally take time.
No, they do. That was a like again, one of our main bad habits.
Yeah, communication was
Yeah.
trash.
Our main bad habits. And so it was kind of this expectation of, okay, once we get back together, everything else is going to be fixed. But no, we realized that was not the case.
False. Couldn't have been
that
further
was
from the truth.
that was not the case.
No, that's when the work started.
Yeah, literally. And I think for us, it was just the commitment that was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no exit plan
Right.
or option.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, we have to do this and we want to do this together.
Exactly. And it took, I mentioned it not that long ago. It took a really long time for me to have a feeling of safety during our arguments or any sort of disagreements, because it was always so nuclear that there was always this feeling of, oh, you could leave at any point. Like this argument's going to be the one.
Which is so crazy because, like, that's literally, like, what I felt.
When we came back together?
Yeah. Like, it switched.
Mm.
And it was, like, the tiniest argument. She'll be like, yeah. I know. I'm not feeling it.
No.
I don't have energy for that. You know?
Yeah.
Which, to me, felt justified.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like I was on borrowed time.
Yeah.
And so, that was definitely my early reconciliation struggle.
Yeah.
So time, therapy, grace, and the
stick-to-itiveness.
That part, and doing it as a unit is what really turned the tide for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you were in the early portion of your healing journey, just know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that what you feel is natural, and it's okay that it's going to take time, but you have to put purpose into your healing.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage takes effort.
So put it in.